Thanks so much to Unit Ventures for having me today at my first unconference. And thanks to all of you for tuning into my session. I'm Mollie Eisler, Vice President of WAM Ventures, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about how we are empowering the future of food. I would also like to welcome Tracy from See Here Draw. Hi, Tracy. She will be live illustrating my session. Thank you so much, Tracy. Be sure to check out her screen periodically through my presentation. She'll have her video on and you can watch my presentation come to life through her illustrations. And then at the end, we'll check back in and see what everything looks like. I do want to keep this interactive. If you have any questions or comments at any point, feel free to use the Zoom chat feature. I'll also save some time at the end for questions. We can go and take some live as well. So some background on me. I run the venture arm for WAM Partners, which is a fourth generation firm in New York City real estate. I'm calling in from New York City today. Our real estate portfolio has been under the same family management across generations for almost a century. And we make investments in both brick and mortar and in startups. So I wanted to share some information about our areas of focus on the investment front. We are uniquely focused on the intersections between the physical world, be it real estate, retail, restaurants, products, and consumer packaged goods, and the tech space. So we invest in early stage startups that play in all three. We cover a wide range of territory, and we are keenly focused on the food space and how food is connected in each of these areas, from ag tech to products to restaurants. We are experts in the restaurant space, especially here in New York City, so happy to chat about that after as well. Today, I'm going to talk to you about three of our portfolio companies, how they are really affecting the changing landscape of food through farm to fork. The pandemic has really hit the food sector hard, from the global food supply chain to the restaurant space. So through the lens of three of our portfolio companies, I want to talk to you about what they are doing to help during the pandemic and how they're actually driving the change for the future. So food is really global. It's something that connects all of us, no matter where we are. I'm sure you can relate to me. You miss going to restaurants with friends and families and sharing meals together. So I'm going to introduce our three companies now. We've got Seal the Seasons, a brand that makes locally grown and produced food available 365 days a year. We have Fresh Bellies, a baby food company that is focused on creating the next generation of healthy and adventurous eaters. And then we have Ingest, who acts as the central nervous system for restaurants. So I'll talk about how we found these companies, what inspired us to invest, why we think they're important now more than ever, what they're doing to support the food space through the pandemic, and also the path that they are paving and empowering the transformation for the future. So first up is Seal the Seasons. I first learned about them in 2017 at a food conference and learned about their process of partnering with local farmers. They flash freeze produce just after harvest when it's at the peak of freshness, and it has the peak flavor as well at this point. They flash freeze it, they package it under their own brand label, and then they distribute it at local supermarkets. So For example, here in New York City, I can go to a supermarket in the freezer section and find locally grown blueberries from the Hudson Valley and purchase them over like a Dole or some of the more traditional legacy players. They manage the distribution, the shopper marketing, the branding, the food safety, traceability, all via their unique and exclusive supply chain. They have a super passionate founder, Patrick Mateer, who has deep expertise in the farmers market. He's able to form really strong, meaningful connections with farmers, and he's created a model with Seal the Seasons where both farmers and consumers win. We really believe in their mission of bringing locally grown and produced food to every aisle of the supermarket 365 days a year. Because they are flash freezing products, they're essentially eliminating seasonality. So I can go ahead and buy those Hudson Valley blueberries at the supermarket throughout the year, even if blueberries aren't in season. And we were really interested in the unique logistical layer that they occupy in this space, serving as the connector between both local farms, local grocery stores, and providing access in a channel that these local farms may have not had in the past. So they've disrupted the legacy brands, like I mentioned, starting first in the freezer aisle at the grocery store. They were a first mover in the supply chain, and there was really little innovation in the category. So this is what the global food supply chain looks like. It is complex. It is a much longer process than local. It's way less regulated, and in fact, apples that you may be purchasing at the supermarket, they may be 10 months old. Often after harvest, they are kept at cool temperatures and distributed to supermarkets year round, months and months after they were picked. So clearly they're losing their freshness and all of the nutrients that they have in them when they're first plucked off the tree. So as I mentioned, the global food supply chain, it is less regulated and takes longer, but let's take a look at the industry. So it's an $11 trillion industry that is split between 50-50 between grocery and food service. And now, of course, with the pandemic, everything is shifting to grocery. 80% of the world's population live in cities that are reliant on imports. So with the pandemic, the global supply chain and international travel basically stopped overnight, really exposing a logistical weakness here in moving product from farm to store to the home. So most of the issues facing farmers now are logistical ones. They are sitting on excess supply as the food service channel is cut off. They're unable to provide to restaurants or to cafeterias, offices, etc. But one thing that the pandemic has really highlighted is the importance of self-sufficiency, which I'll get into in a little bit, and also local food production. I caught up with Seal the Seasons this week, and they let me know that farms of different sizes are being affected differently in vastly different ways. The smaller and more agile farms are able to adapt to change faster, taking advantage of technology, selling via online CSAs, produce boxes, etc. It's really the middle and the larger farms with much more labor to take care of and more reliance on the food system, the food service channel. So it's those farms that are getting hit harder. Seal the Seasons has been in contact with their farmers now more than ever. They host regular Zoom meetings. They are actually freezing more product than ever. Their sales are through the roof. People are buying frozen, buying local and bulk. It goes back to this idea of self-sufficiency. people are going to the grocery store less and concerned about safety. So being able to stock up and have seasonal products in your freezer throughout the year is really something beneficial for customers now more than ever. So let's talk about the Seal the Seasons process. You can see it's a much simpler supply chain here. They work with local farmers right after the products are picked. They then use a network of localized co-packers who will flash freeze the products, put them in the Seal the Seasons branded packaging, which is highlighting each of the farmers per product. Then from there, the packages are tested for food safety and then distributed to retail locations, be it conventional, mass sector, and the natural sector. And then from there, go to your home. So they're also partnering with the American Farmland Trust to provide grants to farmers during this time. At the consumer level, they're strengthening the connection between the food source and they're providing a better and fresher product, which is an indicator of quality. And consumers are much more likely to trust the product when they know where it comes from. With the effects of climate change as well, and the shifting of the seasons, Seal the Seasons is able to eliminate seasonality, which I've mentioned, and their products, for every 2-pound bag of produce, it offsets 1 pound of carbon greenhouse gas. So previously we were so reliant on this global food supply chain, which is less and less regulated. And when there is this disruption with the pandemic, that's why logistically we were unable to adapt quickly. So in the future, I'm not saying that we need to fully shift to local, but we need to find a better balance between the two. So that will effectively create a more resilient supply chain and be able to get food distributed and in the hands of consumers from the farmers at a much faster speed than it is now. So from the soil to the ingredients, let's talk about Fresh Bellies next. I met Fresh Bellies in 2018. I was incredibly inspired by the Founders Drive. Saskia Sarosa was formerly the vice president of marketing for the NBA for over a decade, and she could not find fresh, natural, savory baby food companies products in stores when she was trying to feed her own children. So she basically created her own. And in fact, she unearthed a century-long flaw with the US baby food industry. Companies have been masking the taste of vegetables by adding fruit and fruit sugars to vegetable-based baby foods. So as a result, babies aren't tasting vegetables on their own. They're not getting an affinity for what bitter or other tastes are like, so that later in life, they're actually becoming picky eaters because they're used to the sugar. I wanted to show you an example of this. So I went to the store last night and picked up, this is a banana, mango, broccoli, and kale product. It's in a pouch, which I will get into in a little bit, but you can see the first ingredients there are fruits. It's the banana puree, it's the mango puree, effectively masking the taste of broccoli and kale. In contrast, Fresh Bellies provides products of an award-winning line of baby food purees, children's snacks. They're sold across the country at retailers, grocery, big box, and also online. They even caught the attention of the Shark Tank producers and competed on the show last year. They offer all high quality products that are free from any additives, national preservatives, BPA, et cetera. And they really offer the proposition of training palates early. So you can see it's just vegetables, no added fruit sugars masking the taste. So babies are actually tasting real veggies, and not just real veggies, but they're also adding things like garlic and spices like cardamom, cumin, thyme, herbs, basil, really opening up a whole new world of flavors to children at such a young age. They're also sold in packaging that is free from heavy metals. You can see here in the lid there is actually a spoon inside. So this teaches kids spoon to mouth cues rather than overeating, which is really common with the pouches. In fact, those pouches that I showed on the previous slide are one of the leading causes of childhood obesity, because kids will just squeeze them into the mouth without noting when they are full and just finishing the entire package. To get those pouches to be shelf stable, they are exposed to very high temperatures of heat, which can actually leave traces of heavy metals in the baby food product itself. So that's why Fresh Bellies has created this packaging to combat both of those issues. So here's a look at two of the Fresh Bellies purees. We've got the cauliflower Dreamin', which is cauliflower, bell pepper, there's some garlic in there. The organic lemon juice is used as an all-natural preservative, and then some thyme. And you can see we've got the beet as well, also has some thyme in there. I wanted to share with you a concept that's called the flavor window, and that's the period when babies are between 4 and 7 months. That is when they are most open to trying new flavors. So Fresh Bellies is exposing children to these flavors during this window, and that's why her products are packed with a whole wide range of flavors and vegetables, like I mentioned earlier. In fact, you can even add some salt to the purees and serve them as a dip or spread for older children and honestly adults. So we had some in the office and they are delicious, super high quality. During the pandemic, their sales are up, velocity is through the roof at stores, the order sizes are larger. I think what they're doing is really leading the charge in terms of providing a high quality product, but at the same time, educating consumers. Health and well-being are really big concerns for people during the pandemic, where people are seeking products to boost mood and brain function. Internet searches are through the roof for antioxidants, vitamins, nutrient-dense foods, etc. So really COVID-19 is resetting our priorities. People are more mindful about what they're putting in their bodies, especially so for their children. And this is true particularly for millennial parents who are pregnant or have young children at this time. They are even more invested in quality products that they're putting not only in their mouths, but also in their children's mouths. So nourishing humanity from the first bites is really setting the tone for years to come. Healthy eating habits and nutritional benefits are going to be here to stay. And Fresh Bellies is really helping to lead the way and educate consumers at the same time. So now that we have moved from the farm to the product, that brings us to the totality of the experience, which is the restaurant. This is Ingest AI. I first met them in 2018. Kenneth Kuo is an AI and data science expert, and essentially Ingest is artificial intelligence for the restaurant industry. They simplify data management by aggregating fractured and disparate data sources from various restaurant tech systems. They put that all together in a easy to use database, and that allows for restaurants to automate reporting, unlock operational insights down to the most minute details and ingredients using their artificial intelligence. Then they layer on top predictive analytics, helping restaurants to better forecast and predict and optimize all in real time. They work with all types of restaurants, from quick service to fast casual to Michelin starred and fine dining. And I want to show you what the current restaurant tech ecosystem looks like. So wow, there's a lot of players. On average, actually, restaurants use 10 to 12 different systems, different technology systems. So point of sale, HR, marketing, delivery, reservations, etc. And actually none of these systems talk to each other. So in the past, restaurant managers had to download the unique data files from each of these systems, manually merge them in Excel to try to get any insights about data across platform. So Ingest effectively acts as an aggregator and is able to ingest all types of data and normalize and allow restaurants to gain insight in real time. The restaurant industry is truly one of the hardest hit by the pandemic across the globe, and especially for the US. It's the second largest employer here in the US. And I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that restaurants are having to adapt. They're having to adapt fast, and they're having to adapt to using new technologies. The future landscape of restaurants will have a more blurred line between the in-person experience and the home, and it's important that restaurants strengthen this connection. Data is really the key now more than ever, as many restaurants have had to pivot their models and adjust. Currently, all kitchens are operating as ghost kitchens for takeout and delivery orders only, no in-person dining experience. Delivery, which in the past had a questionable path to profitability, is now really here to stay as a permanent part of the equation. Restaurants are coming up with meal kits, take and bake options. They are offering contactless delivery, curbside pickup. Some are even pivoting to grocery and convenience stores, or they are selling bottles of wine off their wine list. So those are a few examples. I wanted to highlight some from my own life and my own experience here in New York City about how restaurants, two restaurants here have adapted to a new model and are also trying to strengthen the connection with the guests, even though they can't be at the store. So I recently, with my sister, ordered takeout from Beatrice Inn, which is an upscale meat-forward restaurant in the West Village that was previously focused on in-person dining. And I ordered for takeout. I received a handwritten note from Chef Angie Marr herself, who personally cooked my dinner. And yes, the duck was delicious. Or this example from a Malaysian restaurant that had to pivot and is now acting as a mutual aid group called Heart of Diner. They have handwritten letters along with hot meals, and they are serving these to New York City's Asian communities who unfortunately may be more fearful now from the increase of racism and xenophobia with the virus's association with China. Restaurants are really hanging on to survive, and planning for the future is really going to be a new model that involves a synergy between in-person dining, takeout, and delivery. And data insights are really the key for bringing this concept of how to take the restaurant home with you, and the hospitality included. Ingest is helping companies get back on their feet to relaunch once they can operate again. In the meantime, they're helping them monitor performance, providing a leaner operation with this automated reporting capability, and they're helping to manage data insights about these new operations of takeout, delivery, etc. They can also monitor consumer behavior and trends, showing restaurants, what consumers are interested most now, and how they can use that to predict for the future. So of course, the restaurant landscape will be changed forever as we are emerging into a operational and tech landscape. If everyone could just mute, please, thank you. So new tech will replace olds. We'll have even more data sources to work with, and I wanted to give a few examples of each. So in the past, our conventional payment methods of cash and credit cards, those may potentially contain germs. And that really paves the way for contactless payment, mobile in-app payments, and more. If everyone could just mute themselves, that would be great. Thank you. Additionally, digitized menus will allow us to track consumer preferences and update in real time. Everyone can just mute. Thank you.
Because what I haven't shared with you, I haven't really got time to go into, but the reality is that.
Hi, if everyone on the line could please mute, that would be great. Or if the co-host can help me out here, I would appreciate that. But I'm going to keep plowing through. I hope everyone can hear me. Please mute yourselves if you can as I finish this presentation here. I'm going to see if I can mute myself, mute the issue here.
I think they got it.
All right, great. So let's jump back in. I was talking about some examples of new tech that will replace old. So cash and credit cards may contain germs. That paves the way for contactless payment, mobile in-app payment. There will be digitized menus, which we can use to track consumer preferences. We can update them in real time. Audio ordering, delivery first menus with items that are transport friendly, like the method in which my duck was cooked here to preserve quality. There's also a whole new layer related to health. So using data to protect the health of your entire operation, be it employee health, temperature checks, sanitization routines, and also customer health data, being able to notify patrons if there was exposure when they dined at your restaurant, et cetera, in a quick and fast way will be essential for keeping communication open. And the gist of it is really that with data, we can further personalize, humanize the experience, bringing hospitality provided by the chefs and the servers and the entire team from the restaurant to the consumer, no matter where they are. So now imagine a future where you order from a restaurant, you understand where the ingredients come from, both locally and globally. You know you're getting a high quality product based on the reputation of the restaurant. And you're ordering from a menu that was designed specifically for delivery and to be finished at home. You just have to put that last sear on the steak when you receive it. In the meantime, the restaurant is capturing data on the back end, logging your preferences, et cetera. Perhaps next time the delivery courier notices your dog comes to the door every time you pick up your food for delivery, and the restaurant will, for a future purchase, put a home-baked dog treat in with your delivery order. So the future is really about quality, it's about human connection, and it's about community. And we believe that food is the vehicle through which we can attain these things. From the farm to the store, to the restaurant, to the home, at WAM Partners, we are so proud to be part of Seal the Seasons, Fresh Bellies, and Ingest, who are really bringing this vision to reality. So with that, I just wanted to thank everybody so much for listening and tuning in to my session. If you want to connect further, if you're interested in learning more about any of these companies, if you're a startup in the space, or if you're interested in ways to help and give back to restaurants and other companies in the food space during this time, feel free to reach out. I've got my LinkedIn and email there. If you scan the QR code, it goes directly to my LinkedIn. So I look forward to connecting with you and chatting further about this. So with that, I just wanted to pause and see if there were questions. I also wanted to check in on Tracy and see how the live illustration was going. Wow. How cool. Oh, you're on mute, Tracy. Let me unmute you.
Oh.
You are on mute.
Okay.
Oh, we can't hear you. You're still on mute. Sorry, Tracy.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can. Oh, okay. You covered a lot of topics, Molly. They were all super
Yes.
interesting. And I'll
Thank
send you the
you.
digital later if anyone wants to see some visualizations of this, of the things you spoke about, or if you want to even focus on anything now. But it was wonderful and very fascinating talk. Thanks for letting me illustrate.
Thank you so much. I will put Tracy's information for See, Hear, Draw in the chat after this. And I do see we have a question from Daniel. If we can squeeze that in the last minute here, I'd love to hear from you.
Sound? It's fine?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Hi.
Yeah, we are, so I want to know about I love to listen to these ideas and innovations in the food space. I would like to know if you have like a trend, or if you know about a trend for protein, for animal protein production. Where do you see these going, or what are your insights there?
Sure. I think that is a great question. We see a lot in the news about the strain of the meat supply chain, especially in the US. So I think moving to the future, you're absolutely right. Alternate proteins, be it in the form of lab grown or other sources of protein like pea protein, insects, etc., will be on the rise. I think really the key, it's kind of the same thing I was talking about with Fresh Bellies. It's the education piece. It's really educating the consumer and providing the opportunity to try, because a lot of people, haven't had access or exposure. And so I think that with more education and more exposure, people will be more adept to trying in the future. So you're absolutely right. This category is something that's going to be growing, especially as we see this after the pandemic. And I'm happy to chat further about some interesting companies that we're seeing in the space.
Oh, I would love to
time.
talk to you about it.
Yeah, please connect.
Okay.
That would be
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Great. Well,
Thanks.
I know I'm running at the end of time here, so thank you all again so much. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for listening. Looking forward to connecting further.